Welcome to Break Through the Ordinary podcast. Are you ready and committed to your future self? Because if you are, sibling duo Marc and Claudine Chiarmonte will take you on the journey of self-discovery to unlock your highest potential through impactful conversations with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, healers, and coaches. We are here to share practical tools and strategies to generate the life you envision. New episodes drop every Monday.
We're really happy to have Maria Chia with us today. She's a full-time practicing acupuncture physician in Palm Beach County, Florida. She owns and operates her private practice, Chah Acutherapy, in Lantana, Florida, and is a continuing educator provider for medical massage body workers. As a graduate of Dragon Rise's College of Oriental Medicine in Gainesville, Florida, Maria has maintained a special interest to emotional issues, unresolved inflammatory disease that include digestive and autoimmune disorders. Her longtime practice involves chronic structural and muscular pain. After 28 years of practice in alternative medicine, she recognizes the side effects of long-term stressors and found acupuncture therapy to be one of the most and best complementary provisions for modern medicine management. She is also a pioneer in creating a mentorship program for body workers on how to incorporate Chinese modalities in her practice.
Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah,
Yes.
exciting.
So I'm going to get right in. There's a phrase that I've often heard referred to, and maybe you can explain it for our listeners. What is meant by modern medicine and ancient wisdom?
Great question. Everyone's always asking that. Well, we understand wisdom comes from basically a history, something that we known from ancestors or stories of the past. And Chinese medicine, one thing most people do understand is that this is one of the oldest practices in the world and is practiced in the world, all over the world, actually, more than the modern medicine as we know it today. So ancient wisdom, according to acupuncture, basically is, in traditional Chinese medicine, it's an evolution of the continuum of socioeconomics in a way. The way people and the belief systems in Chinese was based on what they believed on immortality, life after death, ancestors. And they didn't have modern medicine like they have today. They had to rely on each other based on their belief systems. And that basically is a wisdom that they knew was within our own body. So they knew from nature that there was a way that, for example, when they saw the mist coming off the earth, and this mist actually created a thin type of cloud. So they understood that it came from basically like the dynasty, the Shanghai and the Zhou, what they called the Zhou dynasty, where it was back in the 1600s, 1020 BC. That's how wisdom was developed, based on understanding our bodies with the earth and how our body moves in the earth with our health and our survival mechanisms, as far as what to eat, what you don't eat, what you should eat in order to be strong. So this wisdom is in our bodies from generation to generation. And today, the modern medicine, we have a lot of wisdom, but it's based on more of a two-dimensional type of allopathic method versus the ancient wisdom is based on a three-dimensional type of concentrated embodiment of energy in your tissue, as well as your emotion and your mental self. And that's also being influenced by your environment and other aspects, stressors in the life, like, war.
Yeah. Well, I often think of Chinese medicine, I appreciate you bringing in the three-dimensional, right, mind, body, spirit, is we often, we go to Chinatown, we think of some of the ancient uses of herbs, animal, like you see, skin of snakes, and you see, dried insects, and right, there's this idea of how to use these like in a tea or in medicinal. Is that still something that is honored and practiced now as part of taking ancient wisdom into modern medicine?
Yes, absolutely. More so in China and in America, because we are, we want to make sure we're not killing animals or creating extinctions. Mm-hmm. And so we have good manufacturing products or companies that make sure there's no poisons and leads and stuff like that that's in the herbs itself. In China, they still practice the ancient, I would say, herbal decoctions. And they use like gecko, snake gourd, roaches, rocks. Actually, in Chinese medicine, they really have contributed to today's science because they were masters at creating what we say gross manipulation of plants, rocks, animals. And then they just continually just had shamans who put together these things and tested them out. And one of the biggest things they're known for is called cinnabar. They were fixated on immortality, like I said, life after death. And cinnabar was kind of like our opium and stuff. Then they figured out certain dosages of this cinnabar can alter your mental state, but also it could kill you. But with the right amount of dosage, it could save you. It can heal a lot of things. And they found this in herbs like in the like snake, and let's just say roaches. I know this sounds gross, but we actually did this in our dispensary in school, and here we are handling them. They're dried, look like popcorn almost, but they have a medicinal purpose. If you ever stepped on one of those in Florida, and that's where I live, they have palmetto bugs, and they're huge. And you can step on them, and the other half of them still run around, right? But they secrete a certain solution that mends bones. And they use this, and they found that helps like fractures, broken bones. Our modern medicine today, we take weeks to be in a cast and fix the bones. They'll wrap you in China in the ancient wisdom way. They would wrap you in a gauze, kind of like a mummy, but they would soak these gauzes in these herbal decoctions. And you would be in it every day for about 6 weeks, the most, and you're like brand new. That's how well they work. Today we use herbs, but they're patent herbs, and they're specific formulas. They're ancient formulas that they stay pretty much consistent with. There's always 4 main ones they call the 4 gentlemen or the 6 wonders. And then they use those formulas, mix it up, and come up with thousands of other different formulas.
Wow.
I had no idea.
I'm getting a big education today. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, we have a lot going on in the world. What's the best alternative medicine that people can use to build their immune system?
Oh my gosh, that's a big question because there's many, many types. There's ancient wisdom's not just from China. We know that. Mm-hmm. We have ancient wisdom here in America by the native Indians, ancient wisdom in South America and in Russia. And a lot of us still use it today as a home remedy. Would you repeat that question again? I just got lost
alternative medicines that people can use to boost their immunity. And okay. I know you're saying there's tons, so maybe we could refine it to what things regular people could do pretty easily nowadays. Good
question. We're doing it today, and we can Googlefy it if you want. It's all in food. Food is medicine. And that's what the herbal decoctions are, mostly plant-based and animal-based, all comes from the same energy source, which is food, which is light, the heavens. And it all manifests into a matter that then when you ingest it, it then disperses into an energy form because food is fuel. So you need the kind of like herbs are the best. We know that like ginger, we hear cinnamon. India, they use turmeric, so we know that that's everywhere here. Everything, if we're the newest, latest modern medicine remedy is anti-inflammatory natural medicines, and turmeric is one of those. Mm-hmm. So foods and sunshine. Rest. We look and see everywhere. There's now podcasts. There's now platforms for meditation, mindfulness, being present, and then all types of apps that we're now into exercising. So that tells a lot right there. If alternative is not something that's it's nothing new. It's just I would question, why do we call it alternative when it's always been here? I think modern medicine is the alternative. Quite personally, that's my opinion. Mm-hmm. So if we're going to go alternative, that's just like 200, maybe 300 years old as we know it. I would say that the ancient medicine has been here long time. So that is the medicine, and we're just remembering. Our bodies are calling for it.
Mm. Nice. So from a place of boosting the immune system, him hearing the ginger, gut health, clearly.
Gut health is the way to go. Yeah.
Is there other practices that, to complement the gut health that you would also suggest? I heard mindfulness, the idea of acupuncture or chiropractic, like those. Are there other modalities that also can boost people's immune systems?
Well, if I can reframe the word acupuncture in a way that if we look at, I think let's go back to the wisdom medicine so we have homeopathic versus allopathic. And so I mentioned that one's 3-dimensional versus the other is 2-dimensional. Well, what do I mean by that? Is that the 2-dimensional, we look at a problem, a cause and effect. And then we, as a 2-dimensional, we dismiss the environmental influences, the mental mind influences, those kind of things, and we kind of extract whatever it is that's bothering us in the tissue. In homeopathic, or the wisdom way, we look at the body, we see it in the physical form, we observe it in its mental, emotional, spiritual aspect of the tissue, and then we manipulate it by many different modalities, mainly acupuncture, because it creates a stimulus. And this stimulus excites the body in a way that it creates its own healing. So we're acupuncturists, or acupuncture is a facilitation. We're all healers, but we're all healers of our own body. Me as a practitioner and many other homeopathic or alternative practitioners, if you will, or naturopathic practitioners, all facilitate the body's innate ability to heal itself. It just forgets. And the best way to maintain good health for immune boosting would be our way of thinking, our way of sleeping, our way of eating, so our way of relaxing, how we project and we emit our energy. Do we overdo it? We stress and we call adrenal fatigue. Do we underdo it and we're non-motivated and we start gaining weight and getting unhealthy? Because aging, from what I understand it, it's not a number, it's the way we lack movement, if you think about it. And so think of acupuncture, a needle that stimulates a movement on your energetic field. And then if we see that stimulus is not working, then we factor in, there's a blockage. So this blockage could be very dense, material way, which is food or body or muscle or scar, or it can be in a rarefied, energetic way, which is emotional, spiritual. And then that's when we decide, we need more herbs. If it's in the gut region, we'll say we need more herbs. You need to stop eating your ice cream, sugar, and caffeine. We need to cut that back and add the ginger and this to help the gut break down the food and utilize it in good energy in a good way. So then that's when we use herbs, and then we use other magnetics, we use electricity. Modern medicine's really good now, has really hyped up ancient wisdom into the modern world, and it's gradually turning that way. It's not so two-dimensional now. Modern medicine is like waking up. Hey, light therapy. We know infrared. We are using magnetics because we know we are a polarity, magnetic, energetic entity. So,
well, thank you.
Does that help a little bit there?
Yeah.
No,
that's
yeah. I'm sure we'll get more into it. So during COVID, everything's going on here. How do you work with clients to boost their immunity? How do you support them, their health, and everything? Especially, I mean, this is a really special time that people need that.
Absolutely. And I know that people are COVID comes to us. It's not anything new. It's a pandemic, but it's a virus. We have history, again, shows we've had many influences from viruses and attacks. And that just, to me, shows how vulnerable we are as a species. And if you look at the animal life, what do they have? Think about it. They have only themselves to protect so they don't get eaten. So like a grasshopper will turn green to blend in with the grass leaves or the plant leaves. So it's camouflaging itself, and it goes on with its life. And we know Darwin's law. If you believe in that, it's survival of the fittest. And we are, just like any other species, always working to, I wouldn't say just survive, but to thrive. And how do we do that? You want to feel good, you want to look good, you want to smell good. You have to do the things to protect and make that happen. So you don't do things that are going to create the opposition. You do things to complement. So again, I go back to proper sleeping, eating, and finding the doctors that you need to help you when you can't help yourself. And so you've
been talking about more and more patients coming into your practice with, post-COVID.
Yes.
And how are you supporting them in terms of boosting their immune system and their healing?
And so that's exactly it. I educate them. I educate them in the importance of taking control of their lives, number one, in a loving way. I'll come in, they'll say, I'm coming in, I always ask the top 3 chief reasons they came in and why did they choose acupuncture. Well, I've tried this, I've tried that, it hasn't worked. I've been doing this and it worked for a while, but it's no longer working. I don't want surgery, I don't want this. My friend told me that I should try this, and they're here looking at me to help them with an unresolved issue in their tissue, I say. So only to find out a lot of it's not, their tissue is out of balance because of a lot of times emotional. And we know COVID's creating a lot of stress, isolation, hesitation. What are we going to do? I can't do the things I used to do. So it's making us to rethink and revamp the way we express ourselves in life. And to look at ourselves in a way that we're like, well, how can I solve this problem? And so they come to us with this problem. How do I help my back? How do I stop my headaches? And once they tell me that, I factor in everything that they have been doing, what the body is signaling, because there's a whole intake we have to have them fill out with their urine output, their bowel movements, their sleep patterns, their heat patterns. Are they hot, cold? Like women are very hormonal, and we're finding that a lot with men as well, and stress factors. Once we do that, I go into saying, this is what I can do. And then I educate them what they can do when they leave home. So they're supported in between the sessions. And usually 3 to 6 sessions usually help, I would say, balance the problem and start kickstarting the body's own healing mechanism. Mm-hmm. Does that help that a little bit?
Is there something in particular you do to accelerate the healing from COVID?
That's all part of it.
It's
all part of it. COVID isn't, it's not like, oh, we're going to, because it's, again, a virus. And so in Chinese medicine, we ask, okay, why did some people get it and other people don't get it? Why are some people immune to it? They have asymptomatic, and other people, they spiral down fast. We say it's your own immune system that is compromised. So we treat everyone the same way. Where are your imbalances that makes you vulnerable to the disease, whatever that disease is. So COVID being that it is here right in front of our face, we have to say, okay, amp up your vitamin D. We've heard this. Take more zinc. Amp up your vitamin C. Rest. Reduce your stress. Okay? And I didn't mean to rhyme that. It just came out that way. And then get support. Get massages. Get acupuncture. Sweat it out. Stretch it out. And find ways. Go to nature. If you're mentally just overwhelmed, then get out and see nature, and don't forget what really matters. We get caught up in watching news all the time or hearing the negatives. So this is all part of treating COVID, to be honest with you. And that's where I was trying to get to, as far as we diagnose the same way. It doesn't matter. Gotcha. Okay? So in that respect, we're always looking to see where the vulnerabilities are, where the deficiencies are, where the blockages are, and create balance. Through needles, electricity. Some people, we have to shock it out of them. So I know that sounds funny. I'm not that cruel.
I just, I'm listening to you, and it's a deeper, I know some of your work, but as you share it, I get a deeper understanding. And it just amazes me. I think that this isn't forefront of the sharing on COVID and everything from the news. Like, this should be the forefront of how we're dealing with it. Never mind the vaccine, all that. It's like your immune system, your health. It's really not talked about. It's shocking, I think. Surprising, shocking. Saddens me a little.
Yes, and I agree with you, Mark. It's not being talked in main media, government. That's not their job. It is being talked about a lot through the population. They're starting to look back to grandma's recipes, and they're going back to the way things were simple, and let's go back to vitamin C. I think I need to amp that up. That makes sense. That's affordable. I can do that. It's like, what are you capable of doing? What is enough for you? What is not enough for you? Because I'm a big believer. If you believe that Western medicine is going to help you, it will. Allopathic medicine is amazing. It really does work. It has its place. And at the same time, you go wonder, why aren't they telling us to do it this way? Go see your acupuncturist. Go see your massage therapist. In fact, they are, because of our opiate problem. They just the federal law put in that doctors have to give alternative options to their patients now. They have to mention massage. Have you tried this for pain? Have you tried that? And if that doesn't work, okay, come back and see me, and let's give you something else.
Yeah. I guess it's my desire to see it in leadership.
I know.
So you do like tongue readings, and you work with meridians and pulse readings. What is that? Can you explain for our listeners what some of those practices are?
Well, there was a time when Western medicine doctors did full intakes. They checked your heart, they check your pulse, they check your tongue, they check your temperature. And I remember as a kid that happened to me. And today they use a lot of machines to do that. EKGs, blood. It's the same thing. You're assessing the body where it is. Where's the imbalance? Is your hormone levels down? Or is your iron low or high? Is your cholesterol low or high? Same thing. So the tongue and the pulse are similar, but it's ancient. And how is that ancient? It would be like when you have a pet, right, Mark?
Yes, we do. Penny. She's on the floor right here with us.
Really nice. And we know when we take the animals to the vet, what do? They ask you to bring a stool sample, or they check their ears and their tongue. Same thing. So we're doing that. So, for example, the tongue. Your tongue is just a chunk of muscle there. Okay, like if you go to Winn-Dixie and buy some steak, what color steak are you going to pick? The brown one or the red one?
Yes, the rich red.
If you eat steak, let's just put it that way. Even vegetables, you're going to get a nice, bright looking, lively vegetable or steak, not a brown, dirty, looks like it's about to go back into its soil, you know. So that's kind of how we see the tongue. It's a barometer of your internal body. It has temperature, it has a coat, it has a shape to it, it has cracks, fissures in it, or it doesn't, it's smooth. And when we're younger, we know our skin is nice and smooth. So is the tongue. The tongue ages, and it has microsystems. So the pulse and the tongue, your skin, your eyes are all microsystems of your internal body. There's people who read iridology, and they can tell what's going on with your internal body through your eyes. Your skin, you know, skin doctors tell you, oh yeah, this is going on, so you need to take that. So we're doing the same thing. In Chinese, the ancient wisdom says, well, on the side of your tongues, this represents your liver. The tip of your tongue represents your heart. The back of your tongue represents your kidneys. In the middle of your tongue represents your stomach and spleen. So then if there's any different color, shapes, or coating on those aspects of the tongue, those four corners, if you will, then that gives us a clue. Okay, I got to look at these five major organs. We're always diagnosing the five major organs in your body. So heart, stomach, kidneys, liver, lungs. And we do that in Western medicine too. Mm-hmm. And so the tongue represents, and then the pulse, it's kind of like a double check, right? Okay, the tongue's telling us this. Let's see what the pulse is telling us. So it kind of confirms that our reading is correct. And so the pulse, think of your pulse is, we don't read it like Western medicine for rate and pressure. We're reading 27 different pulse positions, really, but we broke it down to like 12. And then you put your hands lightly on it, and there's depths. There's your superficial, middle, which we call the Qi, which is your immune system, and we call the blood level, and then the organ level. And then one of them, they each represent the heart, liver, lungs, that kind of thing. And we're feeling for wave fluctuation, how the blood is flowing through your vessels on each of those microsystems. Wow. And then when they're combined together, Dr. Leon Hammer is well-known psychologist at 35. He was a child psychologist, and he learned Chinese medicine back in the, 60s, 70s. And he started following Dr. Shen, and he learned this pulse routine and really refined it in a Western way where we can actually detect emotions. And so if you have like a heavy pulse on the left side and maybe a light pulse on the right side, and they're different, we would call that a divorce pulse. It doesn't mean you're going to divorce something, but it means you're undecided about something. And so we'll ask a patient, this is how I figure out their emotional aspect. Or if it's like no pulse, it's just like we call bounded. It feels like wood, or it's just not even pumping, right? They're alive, but we call this lack of joy, because that's a Qi stagnation. If you're not happy, you're not vibrant. You're kind of just stuck. You see people with their faces are like there's no smile, and they're just like, grouchy or whatever. Or there's no shine in their what they call Shen, their spirit. Their eyes are kind of dull, and you feel that in their pulse as well.
Wow.
So we can pick up a lot of emotional stuff too based on your waveform. We know if you think you're scared, what happens? Your heart thumps, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like if you throw a stone in a pond, what's going to happen in the pond? You're going to see waves, right? If you skip the stone, you're going to see double waves and waves within waves. And so we're feeling for these wave fluctuations, and they give us a message. So our studies are practically, we learn what the body signals are giving us, and we decode them through our pulse and tongue.
Wow.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then your sound too, the sound of your voice, tells us something, what chakras you're speaking from, the color of your hair, the skin, your nails. There's a lot to it, and a lot to it.
Yeah. I just have a follow-up. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was very informative.
Yes, it was.
And, I notice when I go for massage, and I've certainly heard you and other alternative practitioners talk, and holistic practitioners, I'm going to say that word.
That's a good one.
Yes, sir. Is meridians. Like, you know, I noticed like in massage, they're intentional about touching, and even my hand when I've gone for massages. If you could even speak into people to understand, our listeners to understand what that means, but what is our body holding in these particular spaces?
Whoa, that's a big question.
Refine it as best you can.
Well, would you agree with me that we all unique in our own divinity?
Yes.
There's only one you, correct?
Darn right.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all reflections of each other. And because we see we're all emitting this light. So the Chinese believes that we are post energy. Well, remember I brought about the mist from the mountain. Mm-hmm. And they realize that that the bones in our bodies and the rocks and the earth are real matter. There's energy forms. And then you move up, and they saw the sun on the mountain. There was the dark side, the shade side, and the light side. And then they saw the mist, and they go, well, this is still matter, but it's in a more rarefied way. And then there's the sunbeams. So they saw the body as if it's an energy, it derives of these energies just like outside ourselves. It's inside ourselves. And they're in a specific center, which is our spine. We know them as chakra centers, but they're energy pools. These energy pools are like chi balls, if you will. They're just centered in our heart, centered in our guts, and centered in our reproductive organs. And we know this as a fact. Think of yourself like a snowball man. You got your upper jaw, middle jaw, lower jaw. And from the center of our spine, we even know this from the central nervous system, on an energetic level, the energy pools comes from these energy pools, and they're beamed out like the sun into your arms and your extremities, as if you're a hologram. And if you're a hologram, it's not like these meridians are coming in a linear fashion like the nervous system. You're one big ball of light that has these three major centers, and then they emit, just like your spinal cord puts out nervous systems, and then they come into little branches into your fingers and your toes. Your light energy does that. And then from there, they say, well, this energy flows. The shamans, the Taoists would say, oh, like nature, it flows through like the rivers and the streams, and then into the ocean, and then back in again. So that's your meridian channels, and they figured out these meridian channels based on the inside of your arms and the outside of your arms, and how they relate from your arm to your legs, from the internal to the external, what's above, what's below, that kind of thing. And those are your chi principles. So the acupoints that are on these meridian channels are considered potential energy sources. So all of us have it, but maybe your spleen is a little off, Claudine, and I'm going to look at spleen points. And maybe your gallbladder points are little off, so I'm going to look at your gallbladder. But you both are having headaches, right? Yours is more on the temporal side, and Claudine, you're more on the frontal side. Okay. So these are how the meridians show up, and based on the feedback you give me, what are your symptoms? What makes it better? What makes it worse? Will determine these acupoints that have these potential energy pools that are either deficient or excess. And then I'll feel them. I can feel them from the tips of my fingers. That's palpating. You can just develop a sensory to it, because we're all just one big a bag of sensories. And you develop the skill just like we do with pulse reading. And then based on that feedback plus all the other information I got, I'll determine my points based on the meridian channels, based on the energy field that you are emitting or not emitting. And so meridians help us kind of hone in more in a structural way where this energy source is coming from or not, or where it's blocked, where it needs to be redirected. How's that sound for you?
I mean, I've known all this stuff, but this is way deeper education.
It's a big computer. It's a beautiful energy. I mean, like, we really are an amazing system,
Yes.
you know.
We're an evolving system, and that's what I like about that. back to the ancient wisdom. This is generations of empirical study, science, just the people just learning, volunteering. And we do that all the time, but now we do it on a more statistical way. We get 1,000 people to represent 100,000 people and say, oh, it's that. Mm-hmm. And that's the two-dimensional way. It's a quick way. It could be pretty right on, but it's not 100% right on. So I think the real science is in our own bodies. So.
Wow. So all this you're talking about is like the energies, chi. This is all of this is really incorporated, or there's more?
Well, if you look, that's a tall question as well. To say chi is so broad. Chi is like you're talking to God almost, but it's not God. You have your 3 dimensions. You have your matter. Then you have your rarefied. That's what yin and yang means. The yin has qualities of shade, substantial like wood. It's dark, it's feminine. And then the yang has the masculine. It's rarefied, it's up and out, it's bright, it's it's the sunny side of the and it's active, it moves. Kind of like the sun and the wind. You can't contain it, but we know it has action. We know it'll burn you if you stay out in the sun too long. But we can't hold it. Mm-hmm. It moves continuously. And that would be described chi. It has action. And then, but to move the chi in the body, we're post energy. For that chi to work, it has to be contained in a way, in a structure. So structure is important. We talk about, Claudine's real big on boundaries and the importance of setting a tone in our lives that makes us single-minded and directed. So chi has to be the same way in order to feed the heart, to all the 5 vital organs, in order to feed the tissues to the tips of your nails and the tip of your hair strands. This is vibrant life. This is chi. And it's blood that carries it. It's the yin. So the blood needs chi to move it, and chi needs the blood to carry it there. So it's like your vehicle, right? You're the driver, but you can't, the vehicle can't go. Well, I don't know, today. Today we have chips now can do that. But that just shows you how broad energy is. It can be in so many levels. So, yes, chi is just an encompassing of all living things. It's a divine thing. Wow. And once it separates, by the way, that's how we repulse. We want to make sure your chi is intact. And when it's not, it starts to separate. That's when we get ill. And then your soul and spirit leaves. The chi leaves the body because your body is a matter, and then it decomposes. But it's not who you are, because it's your energy that vibrates in the body that makes it so cool and interesting and attractive, or non-attractive, and we adverse to it, that doesn't make us feel alive.
I'm almost hearing like when we're against our body or not in receiving mode of that energy, it is what causes the breakdown or illness. I'll just use that word. We can really also cause our own illness when we are not in the flow with it.
Absolutely. It's like choice. I think what I admire about coaching and people who are mentors, their guidelines, just kind of like Jesus and all these masters and gurus and Tibetan monks and our priests and our pastors and our teachers. They're guideposts for us to remember that the life force in us is a choice, and you can vibe it up through proper eating, resting, family, and really amp it up. Qigong masters know how to manipulate this energy in their favor and heal. And they can also hurt. Like we do it ourselves by drinking, overeating. We're sabotaging ourselves in a way that this dulls this energy, this life force, for whatever reason. And usually it's emotional because we have a story or a belief system. And so once we remove those, that would be a blockage, for example, a chi blockage, right? And once we remove that chi blockage, all of a sudden, your energy flows, right? So that's what we all aim to do as practitioners. That's why I like holistic practitioners, or I I don't like to label alternative. I think we're all practitioners and healers and facilitators in that way.
Yeah. Thank you.
It was a long answer, I know.
You know, you've given a lot of tips, and maybe we can come up with a couple more, but we always do a challenge for our listeners.
Okay.
And really the challenge, because we're listening to you, is like self-care. So whatever that looks like, self-care, 10 minutes taking self-care, whatever, or trying an alternative healer like yourself. I mean, after listening on this level, it's like, why wouldn't you want to go? I want to go to you tomorrow and really, like, you know, check me out up and down.
Yeah.
So challengers, you can post that, what you did for that 10 minutes of self-healing, self-care, or going to an alternative and what your experience was. But I'd recommend it after, you know, I always knew it and I've done some things, but now it's like, why not? So
With that call to action, we encourage you, yes, like Mark said, take that 10 minutes of self-care or visit a holistic activity. But we'd like you to post it on our social media platforms, and that is at the BTO Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And let us know. Take a picture, share a story is what that is, and we'll be doing the same.
Oh, yeah.
Tag us.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Yes, and tag us.
I'm
Thank
going
you.
to, yeah. Well, you do hair analysis too. I just want to be analyzed. I want everything done.
Yeah.
But you do hair analysis. Is that similar to what you were sharing, or?
Yes, let's go to what I said earlier with technology today. They're advancing things that takes us maybe half an hour to an hour to assess. They can do it in 5 minutes now, right? Because everything has a vibrational frequency. So your hair is, and your nails and your skin are an expression of your DNA code. And so the hair, they found out, is epigenetics of the study of your DNA and how it's expressed, because it doesn't change but every 90 days. Something to do with blood that lives 120 days. And so they check the hair analysis to give you guideposts of where you're deficient. This is technology today. You don't have to get blood now. You just have to pull the hair at the root, and then it gives feedback like a pie chart where you're deficient in amino acids, antioxidants. So it's a more nutritional based, so we can help our patients understand, here's things that you can do to help yourself without going out and guessing and say, well, I don't know, I heard vitamin C, D is good, when really that's not what you need. Your body's going to get rid of what it doesn't need. And you can overload it, like too much vitamin A can hurt your liver. So it's a guidepost, a guideline, FDA approved, that it really picks up where you're deficient. Say you're being inundated with EMF. It even picks up radiation and electromagnetic frequencies and fogs. And we're being more exposed to that with 5G and 4G. And so it rattles the cells in a way they're fatigued. And so we guide them about minerals and rocks, how we can offset the bombardment of these energy, which is our light field, affecting our chi. So that's what this hair analysis does to that level. If you have toxicity, metals, those would be blockages. Or parasites, mold, or fungus. It reads that. It says you have some microbiology going on here. It could be a lingering virus. And I'm seeing that more and more. Or vitamin K, B complexes. So it reads that. It doesn't give you ranges. It just tells you need to prioritize that. We're advising that you, pick this up a little bit or drop that off. It also talks about or shows you what to omit, what to avoid. Don't eat any more bananas. But I eat bananas all the time. Or blueberries. Well, I'm diabetic. I'm supposed to eat blueberries. Well, your body builds resistance, so it needs a break. That's why you always crave salt, sugar, sours. All of us have chocolate, is because it plays a role in your organs. They need those elements to keep it vibing, keep it alive and healthy. So hair analysis does that.
Okay, this might be not off topic. I'm a chocoholic, dark chocoholic. So is that saying something? Like I've heard magnesium or something, or so.
Yes.
Is that something?
Yes.
I'm just curious.
Well, on a nutritional level, yeah, it has benefits. I'm not a nutritionist, but studies have shown chocolate's very good for magnesium and also for the heart, the stressors. So the way Chinese says, Well, chocolate, straight up chocolate, is different than milk chocolate or chocolate full of sugar, right? But it has a sweet property. In Chinese medicine, it has an action, it sweetens. And the heart is fire. So what does sweet do? It calms that fire down. You know, when you eat spices, we usually like the Szechuan. We went the other day, you know, you go and you eat, and you like a little sweet with the heat. But it's a mellow, it just calms down the heat. Chocolate and sugar and sweets.
So you're high-hearted.
Yeah,
you're hot-hearted.
I am hot-hearted.
You're an emotional, passionate man. That's what you
There you go.
Burning up at
I would agree with that. You know, as we kind of look into, you know, you've shared a lot of great nuggets. And is there any other things you'd like to share with us about, again, how to nurture that chi, that energy of self-care? You know, our listeners, I know you've shared a lot already. If there was any other words of wisdom you'd like to impart them to nurture that part of themselves.
Well, there's a saying I use for myself: when in doubt, check it out. When in doubt, check it out. And mainly because if you think something's off, you're probably right, because you live with yourself more than anybody else. You know your body more than anybody else knows. And studies also show 97% of diagnosis made by doctors and other holistic, all practitioners, it's based on the feedback the patient gives you. Because, and if you describe, oh, it feels like a little rock on the side of my, you know, it feels like something's tickling me inside, then there's something going on, and check it out. So ignoring things like that, when this body's giving you signals and you keep putting it off by taking Advil, you could put it off because I got to work and I have to, that's your survival skill. That's all fine. Your body's very resilient. But after a while, then it's going to crash. So don't ignore, if I was to give any advice, don't ignore your body. It's very intelligent. And so, and if you think or intuitively think there's something going on, it probably is, and honor it. Be present with it, and pay attention to it. And you find it's something very simple. You know, maybe grandma or mom has a secret, and they put this on and it worked. You know, Claudine, you know your mom's like that. I tried this and it's amazing, and something simple. But we first tend to go, oh, I got to go to the doctor, and we think of the worst things. Try not to do that. Try to simplify. It was probably when I picked up my dog or whatever, and I picked him up too fast and I wrenched my back a little bit, something like that. So pay attention. If you're in doubt, check it out. Ask some friends, look into it, and don't put it off too long if it consistently bothers you.
Right. Thank you. I'm hearing that. Extraordinarily brilliant body. Mm-hmm. Well, we have this next section. I'm going to ask you
quick fire questions.
All right.
How would you define love?
Oh boy.
These are precise, you know, quick. You know,
yeah, love. I mean, love is about accepting self. The more you're happy with yourself, the more love you have to give, and the more you share the however you want to express it, through books, writing, through athletics. Just be in full expression with yourself. Then you attract that back with you, and you get to love that much more. You know.
What does God mean to you?
Oh yeah. It's chi. It's a higher chi. It's God is the divine, the unknown, and it's accepting that which I don't understand, and kind of surrender to when I'm in awe of things, or perplexed about things. God is my deeper inner wisdom.
Great. So who is the person that influenced you the most to be who you are, and why? Who you are now?
Oh my God. Life. I mean, of course my mother, because I was raised with a single parent. Her drive and tenacity as a single woman really fed me the importance of being independent and who I am, and that no one could make me do anything different except to be happy. My mother always said, just do what you want and be happy doing it, because you're the most beautiful thing on earth, basically. Even though a lot of times she wasn't present, but she was surviving as a single parent and doing the best she could. But she gave me that don't give up, fight for it. One of the things, you being brought up in the 70s, you were passed down generation. Well, girls don't hit boys. I was kind of raised in Georgia, and but that's what some nannies told me. But my mom says, if they bite you, you bite back. So and I approach life that way, not in an aggressive way, but like, no, I get to stand for myself.
What do you want your legacy to be, Maria?
If anything, that as a healer, that I can help people understand themselves in their body, and that especially for women, that they get to honor their bodies in that way, respectfully, intelligently, and lovingly. Still be the woman, the nurturer, and still be strong and be that way.
Great.
Okay, last one. What are your daily habits that have you show up, effectively every day? Habits and routines.
I make tea every morning, sometimes coffee. Put on, saying good morning to my loved ones, especially my little cat. And routine is saying, being grateful every day, putting an intention every day, what I choose to make that day. So, and thanks to friends and loved ones.
Great.
Yeah.
Great having you.
Putting an intention is it.
Is there any last words that you'd like to share with us that we maybe have not asked or anything like that?
No, you guys are very thorough with your questions. I think we covered a lot. If you're interested in acupuncture in any way, it is a legitimate practice. There's physicians, just so the public will know, all over the United States, and their doctorate's degree, and they're really, really some great practitioners who really are out there batting for your gut health, your mental, emotional health, and to give it a try. Just give it a try. If they say, oh, it doesn't work, it's not the medicine. It's usually the practitioner lacking some abilities or specialty in whatever it is. Go to another acupuncturist or find alternative. Don't give up on the medicine. It really works.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here today. And
thank you. I had fun. A little nervous at first, but okay.
Yeah, yes.
Great.
And this was. So we want to thank you for listening to Break Through the Ordinary podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this episode and a deep dive into alternative healing and the tools and wisdom that are there so they could support your extraordinary life. If you'd like to support the podcast, please leave a rating and share it with others and post about it on our social media platforms. You can catch the latest, info and episodes by following us at the BTO Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Thank you, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.